I'm Dale Smith for Looney Politics, and in light of Mark Carney's big success internationally following his Davos speech, Pierre Poilievre is finding himself being forced to respond in new ways. Part of that is to come up with a new slogan, which he is saying people can't eat speeches, and okay, sure. But at the same time, he's also doing some of the same things he always did, which was for example, complaining about grocery prices while also blaming entirely the wrong things on it. He likes to say the industrial carbon price is making it unaffordable. The math on that industrial carbon price is pretty much zero on everyday grocery prices. Just like he blamed the consumer carbon price, which when that was canceled, didn't have any impact on those prices. He's also trying to insist that Carney isn't able to do anything. It's been a year, which it hasn't been a year, and that nothing's being done. But it's also setting up this weird expectation that anything can be done overnight if you just wish hard enough. And that's not how the real world works. But that's this expectation that he's putting forward for everyone to try and judge the prime minister on. Which is also a bad expectation to set if he were to ever form government, because things take time, especially big things. Now, his other solution to trying to create more space for himself is to insist that he's going to pass a motion in the House of Commons next week to pass his private member's bill, which he calls the Canadian Sovereignty Act, at all stages, which means no debate, no study, and this bill is banana pants. So for it to get no debate and no study is kind of a big deal, but it's also seems pretty calculated, because this bill is monstrous and insane. For example, it wants to essentially eliminate a whole raft of environmental laws in order to speed up permitting for things like mines, but also a pipeline. But it seems to forget that, we have these environmental laws for a reason, so you don't do things like poison groundwater. And this doesn't even take into account First Nations consultation and consent, because we are now in an age where consent is required. And it's, just completely divorced from that reality. He also wants to reform the taxes on capital gains so that if they are reinvested in Canada, they are tax-free, which was something the Conservatives floated way back in the Stephen Harper era and then had to shelve, because the problem there is it's so complex that it's essentially unworkable. How he thinks he can do it, essentially wishful thinking through this private member's bill, is again hard for anyone to understand. Other things that this bill would purport to do would be to create free trade bonuses for provinces who've eliminated their interprovincial trade barriers, but that doesn't understand what the remaining barriers are and why they are so sticky. And that again is simply just inattention and wishful thinking. He also wants to do more, tax cutting, because trickle-down economics, and do more, also, cut the industrial carbon price, which again is not going to lower any prices and will inevitably hurt us internationally, because we will be subjected to things like carbon border adjustments, as more of the markets that we are trying to get into, like the EU, have those as part of their trade regulations. So for him to want to pass this monster bill in one fell swoop is not only unfeasible, but unworkable. And if this is the quality of the ideas that he's bringing to the table, it's a poor reflection of how he thinks the country works and what his government would look like were he to ever form one. For Looney Politics, I'm Dale Smith.